For what seemed like an endless, torturous cycle, Ella was ensnared in a solitary world, perpetually haunted by strange, almost other-dimensional sounds that reverberated ceaselessly within the confines of her head. Day in and day out, she adhered meticulously to the prescriptions handed down by various doctors, hoping against hope that these eerie noises would finally dissipate. But the sounds, like stubborn shadows, clung to her, refusing to loosen their unyielding grip. Little did she suspect that 3 decades and 2 years later, a fortuitous meeting with a different specialist would unearth a truth so terrifying, it would shatter the very foundation of her existence and rewrite the course of her life forever. Ella's harrowing journey with these mysterious auditory disturbances commenced in the innocent, tender years of her childhood, as a wide-eyed young girl. She was constantly bombarded by a chaotic symphony of peculiar noises that seemed to emanate from the deepest recesses of her mind. In her youthful naivety, Ella simply assumed that these odd auditory experiences were a normal part of life. She thought, perhaps with a touch of childish innocence, that every other person around her was also privy to these same strange sounds, and so, she kept these bewildering sensations locked away within herself, never daring to utter a word about the indescribable torment she endured in silence, a silent sufferer in a world that remained oblivious to her internal struggle. One fateful morning, as the sun peeked through the curtains and Ella busied herself with the routine of getting ready for school, she casually turned to her mother with a glint in her eye and announced, "Mommy, I have a superpower, I hear sounds all the time." Her mother, caught up in the morning rush and assuming it was just a playful fantasy inspired by the movies, merely offered a gentle smile and dismissed her daughter's words with a wave of her hand, completely unaware of the profound significance hidden beneath those innocent-sounding words. Little did she know that this moment of casual dismissal would later weigh heavily on her conscience, filling her with a deep-seated sense of regret. 3 months slowly ticked by, and one evening, as Ella's mother stood in the kitchen, engrossed in the familiar rhythm of cooking dinner, the little girl's voice suddenly cut through the ambient noise. "Mommy, I just heard my eyes move," she stated matter-of-factly, her tone devoid of the slightest hint of exaggeration. In an instant, her mother's hand froze mid-motion, the spatula she held suspended in the air. A palpable wave of panic washed over her as she quickly turned to face her daughter. With a look of concern etched across her face, she gently grasped Ella's hand and asked, "It's impossible to hear your eyes move, sweetheart." "What do you mean?" Ella, her eyes wide and earnest, replied, "I hear everything. I hear my eyes moving, the blood flowing through my veins, everything that's happening inside my body, every second, as soon as I'm awake. Don't you hear yours?" As Ella finished her astonishing explanation, a cold, vice-like grip of fear tightened around her mother's heart, and tears welled up in her eyes, a mix of worry and helplessness. Despite this alarming revelation, Ella's struggles only intensified. As the weeks turned into months, her health began to steadily decline, a slow but steady erosion of her vitality. The once strong and vibrant bond she shared with her son started to fray at the edges. She found herself increasingly unable to engage with him in the loving, nurturing way that a mother should. Every time her son's screams reached a certain pitch, it was as if a switch had been flipped inside her. A dizzying sensation would wash over her, and she would lose her balance, feeling as though the world around her was spinning wildly out of control. With each passing day, her condition worsened, and the burden of her silent suffering became almost too much to bear, a heavy weight pressing down on her soul. Finally, after years of enduring this torment, Ella summoned every ounce of courage within her and decided to seek out another specialist. But as she made this decision, a tidal wave of anxiety crashed over her. She couldn't help but wonder, would this new doctor simply dismiss her as a crazy person, just like so many others had before, or would he prescribe yet another round of sedatives, medications that would only leave her in a drowsy, fog-like state, masking the symptoms without ever addressing the root cause of her problems? She was consumed by fear, yet deep down, a small glimmer of hope burned brightly. She yearned with all her heart for the day when the ceaseless noise would finally stop, when she could at long last find the peace and quiet she so desperately craved. And so, driven by love for her son and a fierce determination to regain her sanity, she decided to take a chance, to reach out one more time in the hope of finding a solution. She managed to get in touch with a specialist, and before long, an appointment was scheduled. As she approached the clinic, her heart pounding in her chest, a potent mix of nervousness and anticipation filled her. When she finally walked through the doors, the sterile environment seemed both intimidating and hopeful. Once inside the examination room, Ella poured out her entire life story, her words tumbling out in a flood of pent-up emotion. She recounted every detail of the strange sounds, the years of unrelenting suffering, and the countless doctor visits that had led her to this moment. To her utter astonishment, the doctor listened intently, his eyes fixed on her, nodding along as she spoke, as if he truly understood the depth of her experiences. For the very first time in her life, Ella felt seen, heard, and validated, she stood before a man who didn't dismiss her as a delusional madwoman, but rather as someone in genuine pain, someone worthy of help. The doctor even expressed confidence in his initial understanding of her condition, but he explained that a series of comprehensive tests were necessary before he could officially give a diagnosis. The hour that followed felt like an eternity, each minute dragging on in excruciating slow motion. Then, at long last, the doctor returned, his face illuminated with excitement, as if he had just uncovered a long-lost treasure. He was on the cusp of finally liberating Ella from the shackles of her long-standing suffering, and the air in the room crackled with a sense of anticipation. With a serious yet reassuring tone, the doctor informed Ella that his suspicions had been confirmed. She was diagnosed with bilateral superior semicircular canal dehiscence, a complex and rare condition. In layman's terms, it meant that a crucial and delicate part of the temporal bone in her ear canals was missing. This anatomical anomaly was the root cause of both her abnormal auditory perceptions and the persistent issues with her balance. A revelation that both explained her lifelong struggles and opened the door to possible treatment. Now that the problem had been identified, the doctor laid out the only viable solution, surgery, but he didn't sugarcoat the risks involved. With a solemn expression, he warned Ella that there was a very real and significant possibility she might lose her hearing permanently. These words hit Ella like a thunderbolt, shattering the fragile hope that had been slowly building within her. She had finally glimpsed a glimmer of hope at the end of the long, dark tunnel, only to have it threatened by the terrifying prospect of complete deafness. But she had come too far to turn back now. She had endured decades of torment, and she wasn't about to let fear defeat her. Summoning every ounce of her courage and inner strength, she looked the doctor straight in the eye and said bravely, "I'm going to do it," praying that she had made the right decision. On the day of the surgery, Ella was wheeled into the operating room on a stretcher, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. The operation stretched on for 6 long hours. When it finally ended, Ella slowly fluttered her eyes open. She took a deep, shaky breath, and as she began to regain her senses, she realized with a pang that her left ear was now completely silent, except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. And in that moment, for the first time in years, there was silence. That true, blessed silence was like a precious gift, a moment of pure relief that Ella had longed for her entire life. After years of being haunted by those relentless, invasive sounds, the quietude she now experienced in her left ear was nothing short of miraculous. But it wasn't enough. No, more than anything else in the vast expanse of the world, Ella yearned with an intense, burning desire to undergo a second operation on her right ear. She dreamed of the day when she could finally experience the ultimate bliss of complete and utter silence, free from the constant cacophony that had plagued her for so long. The road to that second operation was far from easy. The recovery from the first surgery was a painstaking process, filled with countless challenges and moments of doubt. Every day was a battle as she fought to regain her strength and overcome the side effects of the procedure, but Ella was a fighter, and she steeled herself for what lay ahead. With unwavering determination, she faced the second operation head-on, knowing that it was her ticket to a life free from the auditory torment. What followed was a recovery period that can only be described as a living nightmare. Day after day, she lay in her bed, the room around her a blur of pain and discomfort. Her head throbbed with excruciating headaches that seemed to never end, a relentless pounding that made it difficult to think or even open her eyes, and the dizziness, it was an all-consuming sensation, as if the world around her was caught in an endless spin cycle, a relentless whirlwind that refused to let up. Every time she tried to sit up or even open her eyes, the room would lurch and sway, leaving her feeling horribly nauseous and completely disoriented. She would clutch at the edges of the bed, her knuckles white with the effort of trying to hold on to something, anything, to steady herself in this chaotic storm of vertigo. But through it all, Ella was a beacon of unwavering strength. She held on to the hope of a better future with a grip that was stronger than the pain and discomfort that assailed her. In the darkest moments, when the pain seemed almost unbearable, she would close her eyes and vividly imagine the peace and tranquility that awaited her on the other side of this grueling ordeal. She would picture herself sitting in a quiet garden, the only sounds around her the gentle rustling of leaves and the soft chirping of birds. This mental image became her sanctuary, a place of solace that she retreated to time and time again. Not once did she utter a word of complaint, not even when the headaches throbbed with a ferocity that made her vision blur. She didn't give in to the pain or the despair that threatened to engulf her at every turn. Instead, she faced each day with a quiet yet fierce resolve, her spirit unbroken. She would take each moment as it came, focusing on the small victories, a few minutes of relative comfort, a brief reprieve from the dizziness. These small triumphs gave her the courage and determination to keep going, to see this arduous journey through to the end. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, After several long, torturous months filled with countless setbacks and moments of doubt, Ella emerged from the ordeal victorious. The second operation had been a resounding success, a testament to the skill of the medical team and her own indomitable will, and at long last, she was free from the constant, invasive sounds that had been her unwelcome companions for so many years. The silence that now surrounded her was like a warm, comforting embrace. A welcome respite from the chaos of her past. It was a silence that she had dreamed of for so long, a silence that signified a new beginning. Today, Ella lives a peaceful and happy life with her son and husband. She savors every single moment of this newfound tranquility, grateful for the second chance at a normal life that she has been given. She never takes a single moment for granted, whether it's a quiet dinner with her family or a leisurely walk in the park. Her story serves as a powerful testament to the power of hope, the strength of perseverance, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. It shows us that no matter how difficult the journey may be, as long as we hold on to hope and never give up, we can overcome even the most seemingly insurmountable challenges. Dear viewers, have you ever come across such a rare and complex diagnosis as bilateral superior semicircular canal dehiscence? It's a condition that most of us may have never even heard of before. Ella's story shed light on it. We're not just asking out of curiosity, we genuinely believe that each one of you might have unique insights, perhaps a similar experience in your own life or within your circle, or maybe you've studied something related in the medical field. Your thoughts and experiences could open up new perspectives, not only for us but also for the countless others who will read the comments, so please don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this story as captivating as we do, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating tales that will take you on journeys of discovery, just like Ella's. See you next time.